Yeah, you know the intro for like Game of Thrones where it's like a big map that like, unfolds and all that stuff. It would be neat to like show the final map and try to animate certain little elements to it. It's actually not that hard to do as soon as you have the assets because you can basically just go like, okay, this is on a flat plane and it represents a board, so we just need to move the pieces on the board, and it makes it a little more a little easier because everything is kind of at a certain perspective. Um, but I did want to mention that Fungi Mancer prompted Victor doing something. Let's see what he's a skinny wizard with a large black wizard hat and pale skin, yelling in anger at a big camera in front of the wizard. The scene takes place in a messy room full of old books. Yeah, there you go. I like anyone where Vic is like big wide eyed like about to over explain something. Yeah, no, I dig it. The Phantasma stuff has been super neat to see everyone playing around with it. Getting everyone on the same style reference has been kind of like a whole a whole thing, like a whole big thing with our Discord and stuff. So I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit as well. But I'm gonna try to disconnect the video feed here really quick just to see if I can get this sucker to work again. And boop. Mm, mm. We might just be hanging today. We might just be hanging. We'll see what happens. If it suddenly turns on, let me know. For now, though,
Well,
I'm recording everything, so I'll be able to see everything you guys are doing, and then we'll show it on YouTube later. Um, the I guess one of the big things is that weird is not in EG6. I don't it doesn't show up sometimes when I prompt for it. Is it in EG6 or not? AC.
It was, and then it was disabled for reasons.
Okay. That's all I need to know. Yeah, because I saw that too, where when I was running weird, it just wouldn't prompt weird when I was running it. So um, it's probably just a temporary thing. Um, in terms of Phantasma, can you explain more between the style references 1 through 4? Yeah. So basically, what I've learned as I've gone through this is that like the style references the values of SV1, SV2, SV3. I'll prompt a couple of Phantasma ones so that you can see the difference in there really quick. Um, we'll do this inside of VC Create so that you guys can work with me on this one. Um, on my Discord, I have a dedicated AI channel for Phantasma or the fantasy channel. And basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to run all four of those with a style reference of that that we're all sharing for this fantasy space here. So I'm going to say just let's just say wizards wizards and knights in a battle. Just something relatively generic fantasy. And then I'm going to put Niji 6 at the end of it. Um, see here. The main thing is at least when it comes to Discord has been discorded. Nice getters. Um, at least when it comes to like which one you're running, it's basically going to be like what extreme you're kind of aiming for, I guess. Like so like the default is SV4, right? So sorry, yeah, SV4, yeah, I guess. Um and the let's see here. If I now run the other three, SV1 and SV2, and then lastly SV3. It's good to see you, Rhapsody. Thank you so much for popping by. And what is it? I'll be sure to chat with you later. And the we're probably gonna be taking a bit easy today. It's there's some random like technical hangups and stuff. So we're just gonna be hanging out today inside of VC Create. Um, the main thing for me though, when it comes to the differences between the variants here, um, I'm mostly seeing that with with SV1 and SV3, I'm getting like, most of my like large open spaces that I'm expecting. But SV2 adds a lot of like nuances and details to things that I did not really anticipate I was going to get out of that style reference. It's a little tough to explain because I think it's mostly going under the idea of quote unquote vibiness, and I don't really know how. It reminds me of when a design client goes, "Make it pop." Like I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those that I find that the default is good for most things. Like I don't have any issues with the default value for the style reference. But if it feels like it's just going a little too far, like it's going it's it's even a little too uh uh interpretive, I guess, then you can then at least SV3 kind of helps bring the simplicity back for what I'm doing anyway. I guess the real issue is that it's different for almost everything. Like whatever style, whatever image you use as the style on there, it's going to, interpret it a little differently than before. So you can see like getters here working off of the default value or variant for style reference. We like they got a really big battle scene with dragons and in the style of Studio Ghibli, right? And by combining the request for a style and the style reference, like you're kind of finding the median between the two there, right? But the I guess the main thing for at least for me is that we're at a point where you control so much by the references that you're giving that it's really hard for me to argue that it's better to just write what you want because there's just so much information inside of that image that can be useful. um, I don't really know for sure like when is ideal to use one or the other or anything like that, but and I guess like I'm kind of dancing around your answer here a little bit here, just because it's not something that I really have a clear cut statement on, because it's also true that the if you don't really know this about SRef, it works a little differently between V6 and Niji6. It's also why like cartoon characters don't like they appear different in V6 um, than in Niji 6. So it you may want to be hopping back and forth, but you'll notice that as soon as you start using a style reference, right? Like what Legal Beagle, myself, and Getters are doing here, um, it's quite incredible what you can do by just running V6 over Niji 6 when you're trying to explore or experiment. Like basically, like you not only have all the variants that you can mess with, right, to like kind of explore using that, but you also now have V6 to explore that space too. And V6 versus Niji tends to make more realistic, like volumetric spaces. So if you look at VC Create right now, you'll see that I ran it but as a V6 instead of a Niji 6. And it's like the room is completely open. Like there's just so much that's there. And we can drop the style reference, like drop it to, let's just say, style reference or style weight to uh, let's drop it to like 50 or something like that, and we should see more people and other things get introduced that are not in the reference image. um and I saw that Legal Beagle created his isekai into Phantasma, and I love his red-headed gnome character. It's so cute and fun. um I'm curious what legal services he'll provide inside of Phantasma. Um, um, but you could see here that as I was dropping it, there's now a line of people that are like ready to go to battle, and like there's some really interesting spaces that the Phantasma world kind of builds up. But Wizards and Knights in a battle in the style of Studio Ghibli is almost non-existent in terms of like the battle or whatever. It's just knights walking and whatever. So what we can do to at least try to explore and see what that might look like, well, it could just switch the value. Like, so I'm going to go to SV2. And again, I'm doing this in version 6, or sorry, Mid-Journey version 6, but Niji is like the easiest way to make really clean looking, like, animated characters basically. But V6 has the full, like, knowledge base of Midjourney. Like it could go much farther. And like you could see that when I ran it as of SV2 instead of SV3, now all those people are back all of a sudden, and there's an active battle, and there's people blowing up, and there's explosions, and like, yeah, it's just, there's a lot going on just by switching to a different interpretation or different tuning of the style reference. So it's really quite fun to just go like, that one didn't work, I'm gonna go to another one. And it tends to be that I stick to one or three, and then when I get stuck somewhere, I'll switch to two, because I'm like, okay, maybe I do want this like painterly aesthetic or whatever. It tends to make it look a little more painterly with SV2. That's just, again, please take that with a grain of salt, because it's going to be different for everything you use. And I'm seeing some really fun things from folks here. What is a fuzzy caterpillar doing? Graphic designer client saying, "Make it pop." Micromanaging a designer, stressed out designer. Okay, okay. Uh, oh, I love you for this. Thank you. This is great. Make it pop. Just the fact that it says "make it pop" on the screen, I'm gonna upres that. That's Jesus. That's too funny. Uh, also, early happy Easter, y'all. I won't be here. I'll be here next week, but I won't be here on the 19th of April. It'll be my 20th anniversary. So I am going to be not here for that. But every other week in April, I'll be hanging out with you guys. Um, let's see here. All right. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, actually. 20 years is no joke. Takes a lot of work in a relationship to get to, you know to still be happy at 20. And it is something that I am incredibly grateful for my wife. She's amazing, and has put up with so much of my shit that I'm just so thankful for her. uh, all right, let's see here. I'll try deactivating and reactivating this camera thing again. Boop. All right. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a little rough when it comes to the video feed today, guys. I apologize. But you can see everything we're doing inside of VC Create. So yeah, yeah, the boop noises are essential. They are, absolutely. Um, I did want to show something, which is I showed this off a little earlier, which is using memes and your SRef together to make custom versions of your favorite memes. And I'm gonna save this for another stream to do much bigger, right? Because like, yeah, we need video feeds for this to be funny. But I did the Michael Jackson popcorn GIF like just as a blend with the CREF of my character. And it is so entertaining to mix memes and your original creations together. I'll do one for you guys really quick. If in fact, you're welcome to post memes, and I will just merge my characters with those, or your all's characters with those. Feel free to meme it up, and we'll figure out something to blend it with. Um, I really got to get more reactions. Okay, all right. Spherical. Okay, spherical. Okay. Let's do. This is probably gonna end up with yeah, can't see Victor's stream at all. Yeah, we're all dealing with that issue right now, Shorty. It's unfortunate right now, but there seems to be a video feed error on Discord's end for the videos. So we're just kind of chiming in on it, checking in on it every once in a while. But oh god, me asking for memes has now doubled up the video feed. I mean, sorry, the VC create feed. That's hilarious. Okay, let's see here. Okay. So handing over an orb, handing over an orb. Yeah, I'll just do large orb, and then I'll do Vic. Sure. Actually, let's do Vicky. I don't really have a character that has a red shirt that isn't Bayrate. So let's do Niji 6 on this one. This is gonna be kind of funny. Let's do. I don't think that memes is what you think it means. Okay. I'll do that one with Vic just because of the mustache. Close up. I'll just say it's a close up. Oh, look at that. That's Vicky with an orb. Certain memes are gonna come out closer. Waiting on Discord to connect, right? Yeah. When you press the stop button too early on the bus, no one gets off. Okay, yeah, let's do that one. So one thing is that it won't really look like the meme on its own very quickly. We need to actually increase the weight of the image, the meme itself, Scorb. Yeah, we need to increase the weight of the meme. So let's do Shifty Eyes, and then I'll do SRef Vic 3. But with this one, I am going to add an image weight of 3, which if you're new to version 6, which I imagine most of you aren't right now, you've been playing with it plenty. If you're new to version 6, the image weight value increased from 2 to 3. So can't see what we're talking about? You must not have VC Create open. Click this to be transported. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Discord's down. No video, me no like it. You're right. You're right. Pumping out custom memes. Let's see, popular memes. Of course, Spider-Man and Keanu Reeves knockoffs are like, look, yeah, 3 out of 4 of those are popular IP. That's hilarious. Let's see here. So this was the
all of your OCs pointing at each other like the Spider-Man one.
Right,
you're all the
same
person.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Just Vic pointing at Victor, pointing at Vicky, pointing at yeah. It'll be really funny just to get us all in the same room together. So and Vic's not really the greatest example of this because he is a monster character. It is not necessarily the best for showing. So I what I'm gonna do is I like Legal Beagle's character quite a lot. I think it's pretty fun. Wait, what is this troll one here from Boken? Boken did. There is a big group of gnomes, one angry gnome with a big eyebrows overshadowing his eye, holding a torch. Nice. I like these grumpy gnomes. I like grumpy gnomes. That's pretty fun. Cool. Okay, yes. So memes. What meme did Legal be? Okay, yes, he was going for you don't think. Okay. So when it comes to, I will say that it does make sense to kind of match the meme a little bit uh to the person a bit. So like I'm gonna go on Giphy really quick and search for any meme that has a beard in it. Like just any GIF that has a beard. It's probably gonna be a couple. Okay. There is one from a beard show, like this one here. I'm gonna use that one. So let's see here. And I'll refresh Legal Beagles. I'll add the link to that GIF at the top of the prompt, and then add an image weight of 3. It's gonna be in a suit brushing his beard.
No, I don't want to be dramatic or anything, but I would rather die than kiss somebody with that beard.
It is. It
And
is.
I like beards.
Yeah. It's not a very handsome beard. I will admit that. So it yes, more make it pops, please. Oh, look at that. Okay, so what it came up with was basically like a stage. It clearly saw like the background, the stage environment, and stuff like that. I would probably have to describe his action of rubbing the beard with the back of his hands or something like that for it to come up more. But it's at the very least kind of grabbing the the scene. But remember, the GIFs that you guys use, it is only going to take the first frame from the GIF. I have requested to do basically like it picks a random frame from the GIF. That would be really neat, because then we could like grab like DBZ memes and just see random scenes from it, or collect a bunch of images inside of a GIF and just keep using that same GIF as a reroll kind of thing. But right now, the GIFs are whatever's the first thing you see is what is actually used as the reference image. And GIFs are lower quality images. So you could see here that they are like the qual like the it's a little more muted, it's a little more faded of an image, that kind of thing you'll see. Okay. So let me grab something else here. Beard. I'm actually just gonna Google beard memes. See if I can get. I see the line thing you guys linked earlier. Oh, there you go. I need some Zach Galifianakis memes. That'll do it. Oh yeah, this one should do it. I've kind of forgot who this character is, but we'll just go with that there. Not really a real meme necessarily, but it is something from the movies. Discord is unreliable. Changed my mind. Oh yeah, definitely. I don't need to tell you otherwise. You can see that right now. I could stream on Twitch. That is an option. But let's see here. So with an image weight of 3, adding Zach Galifianakis didn't really change much of the imagery. It just kind of gave him a somewhat similar pose. But the second image here actually is the same kind of eye. Compare the eyes, and it's pixel. It made it pixel art, which is kind of neat because of the low res image that was used. But look at the expression and notice that it matches Zach Galifianakis's expression. That's where we could start to really get some really interesting things done, where we're mixing image blending and the SRef. I've been doing a lot of variation subtles with SRef with amazing results. Like I make something kind of like loosey goosey inside of Midjourney, and then I'll just SRef variation subtle the character art that's in it, and it's just amazing afterward. Really helps kind of automatically clean things up in that way. But yeah, it's sadly we are dealing with a Discord issue here. So the video feed is giving us a little bit of troubles today. I am recording everything, but I know it's not really too beneficial when it comes to doing things live here with you guys. So just come by VC Create and keep prompting things, and we'll just hang out. I love how it turned into pixel art because the resolution was so low, right? And that is certainly true. That if you just use a really crunchy, deep fried picture, the results are usually pretty much like pixel art. Well, Mojam. Mojam asks, when you use a variation subtle or strong, uh, keep experimenting to figure. Okay, so sorry, I butchered reading that sentence. But to answer, variation subtle is going to keep the composition a lot more than variation, and variation strong will almost completely ignore your composition. Um, so like where your characters are in the canvas, where your comic panels are in the canvas. Um, variation subtle will do its best to preserve that, while variation strong is going to try to give you what it thinks is a better, or like a better expect, or just closer to your intent, even if it disregards everything about certain parts of your prompt. There's just, it's variation strong is really good when you are getting started, like when you just want to, like, quickly explore different camera angles, different approaches to a character, different different versions of the same environment, that kind of thing. But as soon as you are like happy with an image and you want to start making tweaks, you can start with the variation subtle and just kind of like re-roll that until you see some clean combinations of, like, say, like your character and whatnot. But the at least for me, what I end up doing is I end up doing a variation subtle after I have added the elements that I'm happy with. Now, I don't worry about adding a second character or anything like that outside of just a puppet, like a body that's going to stand there, because when I run a variation subtle or strong as a SRef, all the characters are going to turn into that character. So when I have Sage in a comic and I run a SRef with her in it, as a variation subtle or strong, she is just, it's going to be a room full of sages. And then I find which one I want to be Michael, and I do a SRef on that, and just in paint Michael back in. Michael is what I consider a quote unquote natural neighbor to Sage. Michael was discovered um, next to Sage at a point. It was just randomly generated, basically. And over time, I refined him into a character that I'm really proud of. It takes a lot of work to really like hone in, because there's just some nuances that I'm like exploring that I don't really know what Midjourney really does with it, right? So like, uh, you know, Michael was a bit of a beef. He had a little bit of hunkiness to him originally, and I just thought that Midjourney too often made him kind of like posing all the time. How do I describe it? Like he always looked like he was like smiling at the camera, when that was something I never really wanted out of a character. I don't really want them to know that there's a camera in the room. That in order to avoid that, I made him a little less hunky, a little less like a supermodel, and that made the imagery less like that moving forward. So Michael has evolved a little bit. Sage has certainly evolved since we first started, messing with her. Um, okay. Uh, What's going on tonight? What's the theme from Twisted Reality? The theme for today is Discord video broke. So we're just kind of messing around with whatever you guys talk about, and yeah, just kind of hanging out today. It's let's say it's a an Easter hangout. We're all just hanging out for Easter today. Um, let's see here. My beard is awesome. Yes, it is. Oh, there's the prompt. Yeah, that's the one that I Troll for You was exploring with here. And you could see already hit custom zoom, so I know where you're going with this. Look at a pack group of gnomes. Look at all them gnomes. So now, if we wanted to take this, like he has it with style, or sorry, with tile, which I'm kind of I forgot that tile works for NG6. That's interesting. Um, so like if we now take the style reference for Phantasma and click on the packed group of gnomes, I'll add that style reference to it, and we'll see if that processed. Oh my god, there's so many gnomes. And we'll just kind of see what you guys end up doing with this here. Um, oh, that's a neat character. So I guess the main thing to kind of pull out is look at this. Look, with the style reference of Phantasma and the gnomes being put. Look, it's there's so many gnomes. I love seeing all these old. The fact that tiles is really neat too. So that means that it repeats. It'll the tops and bottoms will repeat, but it's not true for all of them. In fact, I don't think any of them actually. Oh no, the top right one most likely does. The other ones don't. Yeah, it seems like tile seems to be a tile and style referencing. They probably are conflicting each other in some way. But let's try this character here that you guys got going on here. Let's see. This is Fractal Bob's character. Oh, well, this one here. It's this character here. Let's try this one. Okay. So I'm gonna say poison. Let's do a poison spell casting gnome. Sure. And then we'll do SRef, post that, and I'm gonna get rid of tile. And we'll change the style variant to kind of see what our options are for how it interprets the Phantasma sheet here. Yeah. So there are also two different style sheets for Phantasma, particularly one that has a low depth of field and the other one does not. It's just missing the bottom panel on it. And look at this. Okay, cool. So you'll notice that she kind of looks like a modern Team Rocket kind of girl, right? You know, like how in the modern Pokemon games they'll give you like it's not Team Rocket, it'll be some other gang name, and she looks like one of those characters. So if we were like, this is cool, but it's way too derivative of not fantasy stuff. First thing I would try is to put a character weight of 0 on there, just to see if the prompt alone will kind of drive us closer to the fantasy theme. Seeing as we mentioned gnome, we mentioned all the spell casting and stuff like that, we will most likely be able to pull ourselves away from this hard, I would call Jet Set Radio Girl, Pokemon Jet Set Radio Girl. And now look at that. We have her completely within a fantasy theme, all because of the minor notes that we made about fantasy stuff in there. And I actually really like the top right one. It's kind of evoking the poison thing quite well. But yes, this one's really cool. The hands are all sorts of screwy in this one, but that's fine. You could always variation subtle that. So what we can do though is we can now, using the Phantasma style reference, we can have our characters interacting with each other. We can have them, communicating or working with or fighting against the characters that we feature in our first prompts. So let's get Gnome and Vic in this with her right here in this character here. So what I'm gonna do is first we can try this with a zoom. Zoom is probably the easiest way to like quickly inject characters into a space, because if you if you do variations or anything like that, you're going to notice that you're going to get some mergers, some mixing of people without doing certain things. So I'm just going to do a custom zoom, and then inside of the character weight, I'm going to remove her, and in terms of the most interesting imagery you're going to get, keep it at 0 for the character weight, and then add your character. So for me, let's actually grab Gnome from the from Phantasma really quick. So I will just come up to here, and actually, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. Boom. And yeah,
really like the hands on that one that you said were screwy.
Oh yeah.
They're super emotive. If they weren't there, it'd be a whole different picture.
Oh yeah. No, I'll just fix the individual fingers. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's a couple of non-clipping aspects of those fingers, but yes, it is. I like where the hands are though. for sure. Also like anytime there's like girls and guys with big hands for some reason that just it's real fun. I like it when it's like that.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and grab Gnome real quick, and at least from Phantasma in here, you'll see that Gnome has a whole bunch of character prompt. Like this is like the full list that's here, right? You can also just use the base reference if you want to stick to one image of her. I'm gonna just use all of them, just for the sake of getting something out today. And now I'll pop back to Midjourney. I'm going to do a custom zoom. And then I'm going to swap the SRef out with Gnomes. So all of her links are now inside the SRef here. And then for the zoom itself, I want to make sure that the characters seemingly are on the left and the right side of this character, okay? So if I just do a zoom out now, it's going to be square image. But if I really want to emphasize or just think about where the characters are going to be, this is where I have to be considerate of aspect ratio, okay? So for the sake of trying to get a character on the left and right side of the screen, I'm going to say that this is an aspect ratio of 3:2. That's, three, it's 2 times tall is 3 times wide, right? So like the more stretched out you go with this, the more interesting the results get for certain things. I would say that if you're trying to do something where you have at least a very you're very happy with the image, you probably don't want to zoom out that far because you're going to end up losing a good amount of that image. This loses about 50% of the image if we kept it at zoom 2. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a zoom of 1.3. So it's not that far, just a little bit. But the main thing we're changing is the aspect ratio.
Can I just tell you something
Mm-hmm.
before you carry on? And I hope it makes you cry with happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You literally just cleared up any confusion that I had with aspect ratio. Like, I don't know why. I feel like deep down I knew that, but when you said 2 times tall and 3 times wide, that just like blew my mind. Like,
There
oh,
you go.
wait a minute. That's what it means. That's
Yeah.
why it's like that. That's why we use numbers and math.
Right. It is quite important with the ratios to go like, oh yeah. Like if I'm swapping between or flipping those numbers, right? It's just it's the value of distance, but as given a like I said, like a ratio, right? So like I only know this because of like the actually like architects, they have like a lot of demand for for things to be done at scale. So like we need something done at 1/60th scale, 1/80th scale, or whatever. You get really used to doing the quick math on that stuff. Yeah, for sure. But you could see here that just by poison spellcasting gnome with a character weight of 0, we got no gnome. She's not in here at all, right? But that's because we didn't prompt for her at all. Yes, she's inside the prompt itself with the image links and stuff, but we need to actually describe the scene that we're getting. So like for example, right now we have the poison spellcasting gnome. We can say the gnome girl confronts a poison caster, just a poison caster. Sure, we don't need to describe her as a gnome anymore. Blah 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 blah. We just need to say that she's doing that. And because I could see that we might want a little more zoom on that, I'll put it to 1.5 instead. Okay, and we'll see if that encourages the imagery we want. There is a really easy hack for this though, if it doesn't. And it involves writing a couple additional words that really just promote the idea of like 2 people interacting or talking with each other. So let's see what we get for this one. All right. Let's see. Okay. We'll see if she prompts in here at all. If not, we'll do it as a pan, and we'll see if we can, really force her in here. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so we didn't really get anything out of that. Let's try to increase the character weight first, just to see what we get off of that. So let's do 85. And then while that's happening, I'm just going to copy and paste this. Go back up to here, and I'm going to do a pan with her instead, just so that we can do both. We'll see what we get. And I saw this earlier for my troll free, by the way. The magic pot with the monster character that's coming out of it. He animated this whole thing for it. It's really cool. It's neat. It's neat to see you guys starting to use AI video on top of it, just to be like, I know you guys are working on something, but here, I've already done it. I've already started making things. Like it's so cool. It's so cool to give us these visuals right off the bat. Oh, Fungi Mancer did the animation. Okay, yeah, my bad. Yes. There she is. Okay, cool. So here we go. Shout out to Fungi Mancer, by the way. Awesome work there. So if we look here, there she is. Okay. But again, this isn't with a pan. This is with a zoom, right? You know how hard it is to get an over-the-shoulder shot in Midjourney before character referencing came out? It was so freaking hard to force this. So now we can in-paint her hair to be in the right place and all that stuff in a minute. But now that we have her there, I'm going to now pan to the left, and we're going to add Vic in there too. Why not? So let's do... If you're unfamiliar with how I'm quickly injecting characters into here, you could just copy and paste a bunch of image links for your character sheets or your entire character sheet, which is a little less reliable, but it works too. But you also can save your characters inside of Midjourney as a prefer. So I have Vic saved as a prefer under Vic 3 because I've been developing the character for a while. And the way that you do that is you take all your image links and just make sure you have them saved somewhere, notepad or copy paste clipboard, whatever. /prefer option set. Write the name for your character, right? So just like Goobles. And then we'll say value, and then you're going to paste the links inside of that value. You could also put non-links. You could put like words and stuff. You can even put codes in there. But understand that if you do that and then you want to make a change, you have to like let it fail first so that you can copy and paste. It's not worth it. Just post links. It'll be easier to rewrite it later. Some people put SRef inside of their /prefer so they don't have to keep typing SRef every time, for example. There was a kind of funny moment between Rhapsody, Tanner, and a few other people on our server where they were like, you should make a /prefer for your dyslexia. So like right now, and I'll do this for you guys live so you can see it. Right now, whenever I write SRef, my instinct is to write surf, CERF, and it's just my dyslexia taking over. So what? This is probably not going to work, but I could write surf, right? So whenever I write surf, it's going to replace it with SRef. And I'll hit enter on that. And we'll see if it works, but it essentially I was joking that it automated out my dyslexia by doing that. So whichever one I end up writing, we'll give it a try real quick. I don't think it's gonna work. So surf, and then I'll do Vic 3 just as a test. Yep, it didn't work. Okay, yes. So it did as I expected it to do. It wouldn't see the second code inside of there. So yeah, it is funny though. It is a funny idea. I'm sure someone has automated that. Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So we're getting our sense of scale too. Vic is showing up on the top left of this image here. So let's go ahead and up-res that. And you guys are going to be seeing me consistently messing with the first results of our prompts. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm very aware that like you guys are, I very much appreciate all your all's time being here. And I don't want to like just waste it by re-rolling and trying to be a perfectionist. It really helps to not be a perfectionist doing this stuff. It really helps. Actually, probably the most helpful thing outside of like frankly learning to draw, I would say that improv. Take some improv classes. You're gonna make so much better content with Midjourney by taking an improv class. Just because you're gonna be way more creative and reactive to the things you make. So that's my recommendation there. So now that we have these two characters like in this space here, okay, I'm gonna start with a comic expansion where we are trying to focus on Vic, just to get things started. It's also because I already have him in here. Okay, so let's say with a custom zoom, multiple comic panels depicting a fantasy battle or fantasy. If you say battle, you're gonna get like a war. At least so far, fantasy fight between a gnome, a poison caster, and this is skiromorphic is the name for. Actually, I misspelled that. Hold on. Skiromorphic. I think yes. Skiromorphic is not a word that actually makes sense for people. Skeuomorphic is a design term. It means that you're mimicking something that doesn't really belong or of an older style. So like when you open up your calculator in your phone and it looks like an old-fashioned calculator, like it has the big round buttons on it and stuff, like as if there was a physical button to press. That's what skeuomorphic or skeuomorphism is. And if you tell somebody to be that, it turns them into a mimic. And Vic is a mimic character, so I'll say a skeuomorphic wizard. So we have multiple comic panels depicting a fantasy fight between a gnome, a poison caster, and a skeuomorphic wizard. Sorry, I can't pronounce that. And for now, let's keep the image weight or the character weight pretty high, just so we could see what it does, but I expect to drop it here in a minute. The last thing I'm going to do is, because I want to keep this scene, I'm going to switch this from 2.1 to 2.5, and then the zoom to 1. So it is now 5 times as tall as it is 2 times wide. Okay, that's what we're going to aim for, which means it's going to be a very tall image by the end of it. We may see too much stretching by doing this. In fact, let's be a little safe about it. Let's go in between 2.3 and 2.5, which is 1.2, and then submit. 1.2 being it is now twice as tall as it is 1 wide. So yeah, like that's essentially what we're trying to do here. Is we're trying. You could see I Troll For You has already been going ham with this. He's been. I think there's, if there's anybody who has taken my methods to heart and gone like just home run them consistently, it has to be I Troll For You. I'd see him doing the comic prompt now expansion a ton, and it's so cool to see, because what you're asking Midjourney to do is to predict panels. It's to predict what's around the comic in that moment. So you get the world, you get the environment, you get like all sorts of really neat things. Like this is her entering some kind of like like small barn or village, and it's just really really neat to see that sort of stuff. Like this is toiling from the outside, or she's toiling from the inside as somebody looks in, kind of a thing, right? So let's see what our, okay, there we go. All right, now look at this. We have the openings. The middle of it is like kind of consider like the opening scene, right? And we have my character reacting to it in the style of whatever was the previous scene, and we can essentially start to construct a whole and like conflict that happens with this between these characters just by doing this method of repeating the multiple comic prompt. So we can come into here. I'll hit reroll on it now. And let's try it with gnome instead. So I'll come back up to here. We'll find the one with gnome. There she is. I will copy her character reference. And now we're going to re-roll this with gnome. By pasting all those links like this. Okay? Ba-boom. Ba-boom. So like if we submit that though, you know, we generically have the expectation of we're going to see gnome like we see Vic here, right? Backgrounds mostly make sense for what we're doing. Vic is a character is kind of like yeah, it's a bit of an interesting sort of question in terms of what he is. That we'll answer that in the actual narrative story. There's a reason why he looks more minimalist or more simple than the other characters do. But it's largely meant to be a kind of like a monster that looks like a human, or chooses to look like a human. That's kind of like what we're going for with this. So if I do the expansion with gnome, you can see it's rendering right here. Let's see what we get. Okay.
I like how I kind of feel like I heard you slip up, and now I feel like I'm one of the only ones that know.
Know about what?
Never tell.
Oh no.
What Vic is.
Oh yeah. No. It's just the fact that I'm taking my time with the actual story plot stuff. You know, like I just don't feel like really getting too into it.
Now.
Yeah, I know. You know, something special. But if we look here, now we have gnome. Again, the focus is going to be on gnome because she is the character reference in here. If we drop it to 0, it will look a lot less like her. It'll be a lot more interesting in terms of the potential poses that we get. But we just turned this into a 3-for-1. So we have now 3 prompts for the price of 1. if you want to look at it that way. But the real benefit here is being able to then inject the characters into non-character reference expansion. So I could show you that process here. So let's just re-roll this one with gnome and just delete her from it, and we'll see what we get natively, like off of without any character referencing at all. And if it doesn't give us comic panels, we just drop the styles until it does. So I'll go into that here in a minute. What was the predict next / previous prompt wording? That is a question from Trek Radio. It is the multiple comic panels depicting, and then you write whatever you want after that. It's what's at the bottom of VC Create right now. So if you click on VC Create, which Kinky has linked here inside of VC Text, you'll see that we are using custom zoom to predict potential panels that are around your character art. It's really easy for me to say, oh yeah, it's predicting the future. No, that's not what it's doing. What it's really doing is it is trying to figure out what would most likely be the pattern of imagery that surrounds that. So it's looking, you know, like you can basically say, oh look, I'm looking at all these different comics, this generic just idea of a comic panel. What would most likely come after that? Is it a close-up? Is it a environmental shot? Is it whatever? That's the kind of like explorative thinking that is going to happen. But if you lock it to a style reference, which is what we're doing here when we're zooming out and stuff, all that randomness of potentially what is a comic is honed in and turned into something usable for us. And as soon as I got this working, I was so freaking excited. Because yes, it's not a dumb question. No. There's no dumb questions, not at all. The main important thing is that when you use character referencing, there's a good chance that you're not going to see a dynamic scene. a dynamic environment, like, or dynamic moment, in the sense like here we have a character that's like swiping a knife at you. There's another character. There's like two characters that are, kind of shoulder to shoulder here in a very similar composition as the one that's before it. You're going to see repeating compositions a lot. If we now drop the styles, we will get a lot less randomness between the characters. So -S, I'm going to hit it to 85, but you can go as low as 0. And what you're going to see is a lot more repetition, but you need repetition so that characters remain continuous. Okay. So this is basically the two methods you can do. Character referencing expands out, and you're almost guaranteed to get your character to show up inside of the prompt. That is perfectly dandy for most people. But if you really, really want to push the grounds of like, what you can do with it. Hey, 3D Wizards, you got it. You got it working. Good job, Thomas. That's awesome. It's the 3D Wizards. So that's kind of a funny thing you mentioned that. In the Bay Rate interview, he described the wizards of 3D modeling, the first people who developed and programmed the 3D modeling programs that would eventually become things like Maya and Blender and so on and so forth. They did it all in a program called Lisp, or in a programming language called Lisp. And the wizards in Phantasma are based off of programmers. They're based off of tech people. Not real people, like based off of programs. And the idea with it is that we're going to be playing around a little bit with the idea of Lisp being the language. So it's like everyone speaks with a Lisp. Like there's going to be some jokes that are kind of done for me, honestly. Like I don't know whether that will end up in the final series, but I am definitely going to be playing up on the idea that the wizards are all kind of speaking in a certain talk. Let's say that. But if we look here, here's the one with the style set to 85. Okay. So we didn't really get derivativeness that I was expecting, but that's because there's no imagery of Vic's face, of Gnome's face. There's nothing for it to go, oh, okay, I can jump off of this. I can work with this. We need to actually in-paint the character, more character definition, or possibly the character completely into some of these prompts. We don't have to do that because we already have a character reference above, but again, those character references are going to be very, very linear, very, very much in multiple comic panels predicting. Yeah, that's right. So if I come back up to Gnome here really quick, because there was a fun one. I really like the ones we got with Vic here. Like I do think there's some fun ones that came out of this. So I'll say this one and this one. But out of the ones from Gnome, I see somebody has a comic panel that they're posting with wizard stuff. I'll read that later, Voken. Let's see here with Gnome. There we go. So I really like the I think personally the fourth one's probably has the most potential. So I'm going to show you guys what I mean by potential here. If I now come in and we could see that we have Gnome fully represented inside of here. The back of her head's not correct here. In fact, it continued her hair from one panel to another. You'll see that all the time. Let's go ahead and fix some of that just so that we can get her to be a little more accurate. So I'm just going to in-paint around where it's wrong. She has two ponytails, so I want to get rid of the first one, and maybe we'll just do this like a nice, relatively generous in-paint. But understand that if you in-paint too much and you in-paint the entire character and it's just gone, it'll most likely not put the character in that hole, like wherever you've set it in the canvas. It makes a lot more sense to in-paint only little bits at a time, chunks of the character at a time, and then expand off of that. And keep refining with tiny adjustments. You'll get way better results doing that. Nice. This one's from I Troll For You, and they wrote multiple comp battles picking Fantasy Fit Gnome. Yeah, that's what we wrote earlier. Okay, cool. Yeah, that is neat. Fractal Bob. Oh yeah, there's Fractal Bob expanding out. Neat. Okay, let's take a look. What we got here? So you could see that in all of these, we lost her ponytail. We basically just completely consumed Gnome's character. She doesn't show up at all anymore here. Like her hair is like gone. It does cut the line correctly. We at least got the comic panels to separate correctly. But I actually like this close up of her. I like Vic and Gnome being closer together. So this is an example of where I'm constantly like iterating with Midjourney. I'm going, yeah, I like how you brought them closer here, but let's try to see a little more of their faces, and maybe we don't have to use any character referencing just yet. We probably do for Vic for what I'm about to do, but we'll see what happens here. So what I can do is I can just grab the tops and bottoms of these. So let's grab here and here. And I'm just going to simply re-roll that. I know that Gnome is inside of the prompt currently. We could either remove her entirely to get a mostly random result, or we can include the characters inside the character reference and drop them to 0 if they really fight with us on our intent. The main, I keep saying the main thing. The one thing you really want to consider is the fact that we're looking at the back of the character for the panel, the part of the panel that we're working on. Okay, which means that out of all these images, we probably want to find the one that is of her back, in order to use that as a single link instead of this whole swath of character prompts and stuff. Just because it's going to give you that control when you have like the character sheet, like we have for Veronica Belmont here. I could just pick a pose that makes sense for that character. That it'll make the active in painting and kind of shooting at the hip with Midjourney a lot faster when you do that. So let's take a look at our results here. You could see the different variations on the expansions all at least kept faithful to the fact that they're wearing a hat, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to pick the second one here because it gave us nice clean comic borders. You see these little black lines in between the panels here? That heavily encourages what we're going to do next, which is just keep expanding and see what sort of event happens between these characters here. So we now have Gnome dominating both of these panels, which means that we know that if we keep expanding, Gnome's going to completely dominate the results. So let's go ahead and just throw Vic in there, just so that we have a side by side between these two characters, and we can essentially predict that we're going to always get a two shot of the two characters together. So let's go ahead and do a variation subtle. And I'm just for the sake of example, I'm going to completely in paint her, but allow for some of the comic panel to still be there because I do like this background. So I'm just going to completely in paint her, and you're going to see that the number one result that comes out of this is the fact that Vic's just going to disappear, because there's just not enough room to fill him in, or the style is super low, or sorry, the style is too high and it's trying to make a pretty image, therefore Vic's not in it. Like that kind of stuff. So instead, we're just going to run it with this by default with just the character art, and we'll see what it gives us. Either dropping the styles, dropping the character weight will be huge. For like fixing this stuff and whatnot. Okay, cool. We'll see what we get next off of that. Because the idea is that as long as our characters are fully represented within the prompt itself, if we expand off of that, it's going to simply use the information that's in there to make the rest of the comic. So we ideally want not only our characters in there, but also our sense of scale. So for Gnome, she is significantly smaller than Vic most of the time. So it's like we kind of want to make sure that that's represented in some way, whether it's he's crouched over and she's standing straight up or whatever you want to do. But we actually managed to get Vic in here, but you notice that that's very weird. Vic is because of the skeuomorphic elements that are kind of built into him here. You can most likely get similar results without using that word, by the way. I use that because it makes this makes it particularly screwy with how it screws up his anatomy. And trying to fit him in there, it does its best job it can. But if we really want to see it, like kind of make a more humanoid looking person, we just need to drop the character weight. So I'm going to do variation subtle and then drop the character weight. We'll go to 15. See what we get with that. And because we're what 2 hours in this, almost 2 hours into the stream, I will say that the if you're new here, we are generating everything inside of VC Create. You can find that by going to Discord and scrolling all the way down to the stage where we're talking right now. And just above that, VC Create and VC Text. VC Text is how you can chat with me, and VC Create is how we're prompting things together right here. So normally you'd be seeing my VTuber talking on the bottom left corner here, but we're doing just fine by screen sharing today, which makes me think that it's not a Discord issue at all, and it's just something screwy with my setup again. We'll figure it out before the next stream. I apologize ahead of time that you're not seeing my goofy cartoon character doing goofy things. So Fractal, oh sorry, I troll for you here. I love that you're getting these nice wide angle shots. If you're looking to get comic panels, that's where we're dropping styles for sure. Oh, that's cool. So you can see here that by dropping the character weight, we were able to basically get a more humanoid looking person, but we don't see his face. We don't see the defining things that I consider Vic, which is he's a weird monster dude. Like it needs to have a little bit of this like grimly, monster vibe to him. And so that means that we went a little too low on the weight, but it also means that we got a humanoid out of it. So let's do the best of both worlds. Let's first up-res the third one here. And then I'll do a variation, region. And then I am going to select everything where I imagine Vic would have like a limb or an arm or whatever. Mostly his face is what I'm most concerned about here. And then I'm just going to now increase the character weight back up to 95. So drop it low in order to really see the character do crazy things in the image, like really get creative, and then bring that number back up when you want to bring those details back in, right? Sometimes to a flaw, like to a fault. I mean, like you'll be like, all right, yeah, his eyes belong here when it's like anatomically wouldn't make sense for eyes to be there. That's when you run into some really weird conflicts. This tends to do a lot worse with non-humanoid characters. Vic is kind of a fascinating exception to that because I can essentially control how weird his disposition is with just the character weight prompt, just by changing the weight of the character. Not everyone will be like that. Some people will most likely have, I don't know, like various different trends that they notice that they go, okay, I either have to negative weight out. Like for example, a character could always prompt with glasses, and you do a negative weight on glasses, but now you notice that all your prompts are coming back kind of sterile, like they all kind of have the same result or whatever. Negative prompts are kind of a messy, thing to deal with. It's not as clear cut as it may sound. It really is heavily overwritten by character referencing and things. So that is another thing to consider. All right, so we're almost ready here. I don't think we got any of my eyes though. We'll see. No, but we got the arms. So I'm gonna hit let's up-res that. We got some arms. So now I'll do this again. And I'm going to write multiple comic panels, and then this, rather than describing everything in the scene, so multiple comic panels. it's important to keep writing multiple comic panels because that is the context of the image that you're making. Okay. So if you are panning and you start with one character and you want two characters in the frame, you're not going to describe just the character that you're injecting with the pan. You need to describe the scene that you're making. Okay. So if there is a two shot that is going to occur because you're including another character, then you go, all right, now it's two people having a conversation. That's what the prompt should be. It shouldn't be describing the character that you want to have in there. It should be a description of the completed scene that you're trying to make. Okay. So this one is multiple comic panels. And for the sake of Vic being in there, I'm going to say big-eyed, and then there's the skeuomorphic thing. I won't worry about it. I'll just say big-eyed wizard. Depicting big-eyed wizard. Just to get us a little farther with that. Okay. Oh, yeah. And I got to in-paint it again. Okay. We'll go with that. And again, I can always drop the character weights down or pick one of the images that I think is the most fitting for what we're trying to get him in there. Yeah, look at Vic. That's awesome. These are so cool. And I'll show you guys the variation subtle here in a minute because that's wicked. When we get a bunch of panels in there and then we start doing variation subtles, ooh, it's sick. So once I have Vic's eyes in there, we'll be doing some real trippy stuff here. But I do see that we have over 70 people in here, so I'm going to recommend that you go to VC Text and say, hey, it is something where we heavily rely on you guys communicating with us, talking to us, to figure out what the hell we want to do. And especially if what I'm talking about isn't interesting to you, don't say that. Just tell me something else that you want to see, and we'll make it work. But look at this. There's the big eyes. Oh yeah, we got the big eyes here. Let's go with the first one here. Tanner Spa said, thought of anything super silly? I mean, April Fool's is coming up. We got to do something, right? Oh, hey Philip, it's good to see you, Felipe. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now we have Gnome, we have Vic, and we have the Poison Girl in the middle with a two shot, showing us the environment. This should be the perfect recipe to create a battle, to create a fight, because we have all the references we need. Now, granted, we probably want to double back and get the actual prompt of her, like of the Poison Girl. And so we have that as a reference as well for later. We might need it. But what we can do now is do custom expansion. We're going to hit the zoom to 1. Boop. And then we will switch the aspect ratio to the next level up, or sorry, 2 levels up. So for this one, it is 1-2 right now. So let's go to 3-2 next. And that will essentially make it 3 times as wide as it is 2 times tall. Okay. So we have all these in there. We know we're pretty happy with the result that we got. But if we use the current SRef, it's just going to be Vic again all over the other panels. So we're going to get rid of the character weight entirely. We'll work off of default styles for now. We have the source reference for Phantasma in there, multiple comic panels depicting, and then we're going to write our actual idea. We're now finally ready to do some actual battles here. Okay. So let's do multiple comic battles depicting a poison witch with green hair fighting a gnome girl holding a magical pen and a skeuomorphic wizard. I'm going to, again, spell that correctly real quick. I can guarantee you that there's probably like an English or language major that is like cringing at me using or just even just the way I'm pronouncing that. The skeuomorphic wizard. So multiple comic panels depicting a poison witch with green hair fighting a gnome girl holding a magical pen and skeuomorphic wizard. We'll see if it's able to capture all those details in here. You'd be surprised how well it does. But as long as we don't have a character reference in there, it does a pretty decent job until we start dropping the styles, and then we go, whoa, okay, yeah, this is getting into some new territory here. So the first result may not be that great. We'll see what we get. All right. So let me quickly try to turn on my camera here real quick. Let's see if this had worked at all in terms of getting this back up, because it could be also a let's see. Okay. I might need to reinstall virtual webcam, which is a plugin, or not plugin, but an officially supported, I guess. I guess that's technically it, but it's not a plugin. It's officially in there. So what would that be called? It's just an add-on that they officially have support for. So I'm going to try to turn that back on real quick. Yeah, it still doesn't work. So I'll probably have to uninstall that, reinstall that to get it to work later, but that's fine. All right, let's take a look here. Okay, so I'm not surprised. Like I said, the first one was probably not going to work, but we have these like wide expansions of the panels, right? And we get really cool. We get some environment. You get, that might work, may not. Who knows, right? You could feel free to overanalyze these results all you want, but I mostly know, oh, I'm not getting comic panels yet, so I will drop the style reference to 50. That's style. I'm dropping the stylize to 50. It is kind of funny because like I feel like if there's any word that's overused from the Midjourney development, like the in the wiki and all that stuff, is the word style. It's all over the place, and there's like stylize, there's style reference, there's style codes, there's like it's just enormous when it comes to the how often the word style is used.
Yeah, we're trying to find better words, but it's difficult.
I bet it's difficult. Yeah, it's one of those things where I really want to be able to give advice on that too, but I don't know what the hell to call it. But it is true though. I think that if there's any like textbook terminology issue that I have with conveying it outside of my own butchering of language that I have, it has to be that. I think that's where people get kind of confused because they don't know how one relates to the other, and I'm like, they don't, like that kind of thing. It could be a little confusing for folks sometimes. Um, let's see here. Old Dirty. I'm gonna just call you Old Dirty. This incredible stuff, and it has been on my biggest wants for Midjourney. Thank you for sharing this method with us. Anywhere to learn more about using SRef and SRef, or on building consistency or shared worlds, your original content creation tutorial is great. Oh, thank you so much. That's great. I have to update that, by the way. I still haven't done that. I still need to update it, but I literally don't have an answer for you because we're doing it live. Like we're totally that we're doing it live meme. Because there's been no prep for me. I've been dumped into this just as fast, almost just as fast as you guys. So yeah, I guess keep up with me, join my Discord, and we'll figure it out together. A lot of this stuff, I'll just say this right now, a lot of this stuff comes down to the potentiality of it all. We don't know. We just simply don't. And you guys are discovering that right now. You guys are actively making these things like real. The methods that we do, the workflows that we use, all that stuff is because of just hardened effort of just constantly repeating these effects here. So let's see here. Well, Nixie13 just kind of knocked it out of the park a little bit here. Multiple comic panels depicting poison witch with green hair fighting a gnome girl holding a magical pen, with so on and so forth. But this is without any character referencing. I believe it's just a straight prompt of it. It's very cute and very fun. But let's try this really quick. Let's do a variation subtle of, actually, let's do the second one because the second one looks really cool. Let's do this one. This one, I love this effect that we got going on here. Okay, so let's do a variation subtle, and then we'll go back to the comic panels that we were doing earlier. But we're going to do a variation subtle, and then we're going to add a SRef of Vic. Sure, why not? We'll see what Vic does. If we did Gnome, it would be Gnome. If we so on and so forth. But with the variation subtle, it's going to replace all the characters that are saved in that are inside of your composition, and try to replace them with the character that is inside of your SRef. Okay. So yeah, we'll see what this does. Look at this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it go. Look at it go. It's Vic casting a spell. He should not be able to cast spells. If he does, it's you should be very worried. Let's do this one here. There's a lore reason for this, but look at this. You have my screwed up character design in the same composition, just doing it, making it real. You know what I mean? Like we're literally replacing the characters with unique compositions. So like let's go way back and grab the poison girl from earlier. Oh, I missed this. Nice. That's awesome. So we can grab the poison girl we had from earlier, right? Jumping up to old prompts. I keep clicking the top of the prompt here to get us back to the original eventually. So there we go. We want to go a little farther back. We want to find the one with just her in it, because I don't want to reference the gnome's braids at all. So we're almost there. There. This one. There we go. Now we have her. I just want to make sure I have this image available to me. So I'm just going to drag this off to another window for now. And come back down to here. Jump to present. And we can now do this with the one where you have the 4 panel in here, because it's really neat seeing it with 1 panel. Look at that. That's awesome. Very, very cool. But if we now do this with a multi-panel shot with the poison girl that Fractal Bob generated. I believe Fractal Bob generated this one. We do variation subtle, and then we'll add her into it. Okay. So I understand that when it comes to like particularly wait, how do I explain this? Like, okay, let's just get into it. I'll get into that later. I mostly want to emphasize this. We're very, very close with this character already, just by doing a variation subtle on the composition that we liked. Okay. I do like the result of the bottom left. Again, it gave us a unique, kind of floral pattern. But I think that out of it's the lizard dude. Yes, I like this. You'll notice though that your lizard dude will always show up facing the camera like that, and you need a back at the head in the references. So let's see if you got any that are there. No. No. Yep. Okay. So now watch this. We will copy this, re-roll your prompt. Oops, your re-roll is not going to work. Hold on. I'll come back into here and we'll do it with your character. But this time we're only using the one image of the lizard dude from the back of his head, right? So we'll do SRef and then submit that, because frankly, there wouldn't be a. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. Why am I doing this as a vary region? Let's do this as subtle. There we go. And then SRef, and then your lizard dude. Boom. And because the SRef is the back of the head and the tail is visible and all that stuff, it will it'll almost certainly prompt the back of the character's head shooting the bolt at now granted, it'll guess for what the front of the character should be, like from the other side here, because you did a variation subtle. But if we now did this, like, oh look, I was most happy with the one where he's faced the wrong direction, because maybe the hand's better or whatever the reason is. We can then just in paint the one that we were like, everything's right except he's facing the wrong way. So I now have the back of his head, so I'm just going to delete all of them but the one that is the back of the head, and then I'm just going to replace everything that's wrong here. So let's do here, 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 here. Just kind of come up and select. You could. I would recommend being a little more than less. Usually it's better, but as long as there is still some elements of the character that belong in the right places, you're probably fine doing it this way. So now we'll resubmit that with the back of the head, and it should just repair everything automatically. Crazy stuff. Um, you can see Nixie having fun with the poison girl here. Very cool. Um, but if I now go back to, yes, so this one here, I mostly wanted to show, I think actually let's go with the third one. It just has the best composition with the hands and all that stuff here too. So now, if I liked any of these, right, which they're fine, I'm not really judging it too much. But look here, look, we got the back of the head. It tried to bring a little bit of the face front a little bit here, but for a variation subtle, that's pretty fun. For the but look here. All right, so we didn't get as far as I would like, and it seems like it introduced maybe some new elements. Okay, so it saw the back, the blue shading as a different element or a different outfit for the character, and that boils down to the style that's being used for the original character design. So not the style for Phantasma, but the style for the character design there. So what will most likely make more sense is to break it up into some chunks here. So we go into vary region, delete the like the backside or whatever was kind of wrong about that earlier. It's probably going to give him a blue scarf kind of thing based on what we saw earlier, but we'll just go ahead and submit that and see. It also helps that to like remove any constraints. So like let's try removing the hat entirely and see if that removes the 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 turning of the head towards camera a little bit. We'll see what that does. Now, don't really have any other answers for you there, but I'm going to quickly run downstairs, grab a drink for myself because I am out of my soda. So I will be right back and see you guys in a couple minutes, or just not a minute, just a minute. Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, and as I expected, it made a scarf. um, so we probably want to do more of the variation subtle approach, where it's like here you could see the variation subtle kept the shape or the orientation of the character a lot better. So let's do the second one here, and we'll just in paint now her back into it. So I'll grab the link for her prompt into there, change out the SRef to her, the poison girl, and boom, 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 and just submit that. And we'll see what comes out of that. Most likely we're gonna be dropping the what is it, the style referencing to or the character referencing in order to kind of get what we want. I was talking the whole time you're gone. I don't know what's wrong with my microphone. I tried to give a tour of your links. Okay, it's all good. I'm sure that there's all sorts of oh, it wasn't me, okay. This seems to be like just technical difficulties tonight. Sorry, guys. It is certainly something that you know, I'm glad we made it work with doing screen sharing today, but it is a little funky. How dare you? How dare you? I'm just reminded of the lady from Rocco's Modern Life. How dare you? Like that. That's the one I. Please stand by. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Yeah. Um. All right. You can see here. We she's definitely cut off at the legs. That's mostly because if we notice, she isn't very like the original character art. I just gotta pull this out here. The original character art. She's like she has no feet. There's nothing in there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna allow for more creativity within Midjourney. We are get a little extra area to paint just a little bit, and then I'm gonna set the character weight really really low. Like let's do let's do 5. And this should encourage that it to ignore certain details of our character in order for it to fit into the space or just generally look um, usable, like actually it be functional imagery. Okay, let's see here. Oh, nice. He's fighting a snake. Meow. Yeah, excuse random sound effects. I don't have an internal monologue, so like if I see something that should have a sound effect, I don't like I have to say it. Like it's just an odd thing for me. Sorry, but look here. All right, so it's a little muted in this result here, right? But we did get her better represented inside of the space. Let's try to do that again, but this time, where is she? There. Okay. This time I'm gonna try to hit the styles. I'm gonna max out the styles really quick. We're gonna see what this does. So we're gonna set the stylize to 1,000. All for sound effects. Oh yeah. Um, I I watch old school streamers, like streamers from back in the day, back during Justin TV and all that kind of stuff. And this one guy, Vinny from Vine Sauce, he I don't know, he just is known for making beep boopy noises and stuff like that. He's known for his sound effects, and it's all just voice acting. But he's not voice acting. He's just very I don't know. He's got a certain flair to him that just makes him constantly make maybe not totally obnoxious squeaky noises, but he definitely was one of the foundational people to that. So it is funny to me. But you could see here with high stylized though, which I believe it's what's how yes it is. This is the right one. You could see we lost her in a lot of these, but we got a very dynamic action that's happening from her in the front here. It's just a very interesting, maybe objectively pretty thing, but we also just get braids. We also just get little things like that. I've rarely increased the style to 1,000 unless I'm just doing, um, you know, what do you call it? Unless I'm just doing cleanup, I'm just fixing things. Because high stylize will like make everything really pretty. So it's a really good way to glue things together or just make things a little more cohesive in that way. But Illegal Beagle's been working on this for a little bit, and this is so silly. Okay, this whole thing is so silly. This came up because I had a conflict with the folks I'm writing Phantasma with. Right, I'm writing the fantasy story with, and the results of this are hilarious. They're really great. But the idea was I was trying to describe like the character has there's a moment where Vic is like he's interacting with trash cans in the script, and I had to bring it up to the developers, or not developers, but the writers, and I was like, guys, it's there's no trash system in a fantasy world. Like there's no municipal trash service in a fantasy world. And obviously the retort to that is it's our own story. We can say that there's anything that's there, right? And no, No, they Legal Beagle just went, nope, now there is a gnome municipal service, and they like do all the gardening, they clean everything up, they take out all the trash, yeah, they bring out your dead. Yeah, they do all the cleanup services. So it 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 was just a funny conflict, like a writer's conflict that is still not solved, by the way. I don't know if this is going to be the solution, but it is really freaking funny to see um safety jackets on gnomes. You know what I mean? I love the fact that you use the safety jacket as your character reference here. That's so funny. Um yeah, I really like that one. Hey Nicole, it's good to see you. Oh yeah. So yeah, you could see that by at least in my experience. Just to save you guys some time, um I usually I usually if I can't in paint a correction within 2 or 3 attempts, I usually move on to variation subtle just to kind of speed up my process a little bit. Um to just ditch the shot that I'm working on, and maybe I'll get a easier or better composition the next time around. Yeah, variation subtle is pretty OP for that, actually. Um the I don't really have too much else in terms of like advice around SRef particularly, because everything is going to be up to you guys in terms of like how you use it, all that kind of stuff. Um the It really just comes down to purpose for me. Why are you guys doing it? Why do you guys want to be generating images on Midjourney? And for me, the why is to tell stories, right? To be a comic book artist, to otherwise express or escape to worlds that we don't occupy, we don't live in, right? And Phantasma is my, at least is my first like foray into trying to open up that expectation for everyone else as well. um I will not be commercializing Phantasma. I'm not making any promises, but I'm definitely, my goal is not to make money. My goal is to give you guys a venue and a purpose for using Midjourney. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to make emotes, it's one thing to make some fun stuff here or there or whatever, but when you actually feel like you're like, not just feel like, when you actually are contributing to a larger, bigger project, it really is rewarding and it makes it worth it to do, repeatedly. And we see that happening right now with people's characters. They're making them interact and not just fight each other, but kind of bringing each other in. And then when all this is said and done, when we have a bunch of characters that you guys are actively live, messing with, uh what I hope to see is for us to bring in guest stars, right? People who might have a recognizable face, might have a recognizable, that we actually get permission to use, by the way. We're not just gonna like link them and put them in there, but we get permission and we end up promoting them, or we end up like advertising some charity, or because that's what I would love to do. I would love to reach out to the biggest anti-AI person I know and say, I'll try to run a charity event for whatever you want, but the one trade-off, the one thing you have to let me do is use your likeness in a fantasy story. That's it. And like we'll see what happens, but I would love to do a charity event that's literally like, all right, character of the week is, blah 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 blah, and that character now advertises the charity wherever it's being prompted because it's part of the character sheet or whatever. But in a bigger way, I think we can make very much more meaningful, much bigger things than that. Even I just think that as an initial idea for how we can support artists, especially, I think Phantasma actually could be a potential for that too. So I'm very, very curious to see what you guys do with it. um, let's see here. Uh, it could turn into a new medium if it keeps growing. I would love that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I could hear you.
Perfect.
The I'll say that there is a lot of argument within the art world about whether or not it's a medium, right? And I have argued that it is, because it just doesn't work like anything else that we've messed with before. Uh, but after we sat down with Bayrate and we really had a good heart-to-heart conversation about everything, including some of the negative stuff too. Um, I I think it I think okay. Let me put it like this. I think AI users do a disservice by comparing it to Photoshop because artists know very well that it's not Photoshop. There's a very good reason why we are not superimposing our characters into the images. We are using we're basically generating all new versions of our characters inside of every image that we make. The the idea of it being like Photoshop is just simply it's a little absurd because Photoshop doesn't make new images for you. Um, After Effects has generative tools. It lets you generate a particle effect, makes something look like it exploded or whatever. But that's also not generative imagery. That's not what we know AI to be. Um, but if you compare it to electronic music, particularly noise modulation, that's what we're doing. We are doing noise modulation right now. And it is so interesting to basically give that argument because the for the longest time, especially when Moog synthesizers were just getting, started, um, the electronic music wasn't considered music at all. It was a threat to music. It was considered a replacement for music. And it is important to recognize that what we're doing is manipulating noise or like these noisy databases of just random labels of noise, and people are seeing that as theft when in reality like what we're doing is just you generate enough soup cans, eventually you make a Warhol. Okay, that's really what this all is. Okay, like I can't argue any other way that's better than that. Like especially with Warhol, like it's just you make enough soup cans, you eventually make one of his pieces. It's gonna happen. And the thing is that labeling is it is it is so important to recognize that there's a difference between, like, if a photographer, the one that Bay gave during the interview was about photography, where he's like a photographer made his own LoRa, made his own training database kind of thing, but he labeled everything himself. So he took pictures of cars. He probably named a couple of those cars. So a Porsche, a Cadillac or whatever. Does the makers of Porsche and Cadillac, can they now sue him for theft? No. No, of course not. And that's kind of where we're at when it comes to this stuff. But if you compare it to noise modulation, not Photoshop, but noise modulation, Moog synthesizers, and all that, you're going to have a far more dynamic and interesting argument to make. And before I get to the questions here, I know there's a couple of statements here, and I'll get to that in a minute. Um, I do want to mention that there is a historical spotlight I eventually want to put on somebody. I'm a big proponent of speaking out for trans folks, right? And there is the 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 godmother of all electronic music. Her name is Wendy Carlos. Okay. Um, and Wendy Carlos is somebody that I want to do a documentary deep dive with, entirely with AI. Because like she would be just an amazing person to, and I'm not gonna play this video at full length or anything like that, but um, as a trans woman in the late 60s. Very, very jarring. Very, very, it's fascinating to see her conflict here, because the thing is that at this moment, she is, it's such strong conflict with her own gender that I think if I remember correctly, it was only a couple days before this interview, and she realized that she was taking some of the first HRT medication that was available at all for anybody, and she realized at that moment that, oh no, I need to look like a man again. So they glued sideburns onto her head, and so like it's just it's such a fascinating time period to like really dig into, and I would love to kind of see more about her particularly. So if after Phantasma, right after I let that go and you guys are going nuts on it, and when we eventually make a pilot for it, after the pilot, I'm doing a deep dive on Wendy Carlos, because I think that she would just be an amazing person to eventually put. She deserves so much credit. And keep in mind, she made the music for The Shining. Okay, like that famous song from The Shining that's all electronic. That's her. So yeah, it would be super fascinating to dig into her, and find out what other people kind of think about her as well. So Moog jamming, yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see here. I love all the stuff you guys have been making, by the way. Sorry I haven't commented on a lot of it. I recognize that there's a lot of questions as well. So let's get into that really quick while I'm scrolling through these here. Um, Gallifrey says, thank you again. I'm so glad I was able to make it. I have to run. It's great to see you. Great to see you. Thank you so much for coming. Wavy wavies. Okay. Didn't realize about The Shining. Yeah, right. Yeah. She didn't do all the music for The Shining. She did the electronic Moog stuff for The Shining. So, yeah. Very, very interesting. Um, let's see here. Look at the size of those machines. Ah, yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. The old synthesizers were insanely big. My mother. Okay. All right. So you guys are gonna have to picture Sage here. Okay. For a moment, and in fact, I'll make it really easy for you because let's I'll just pull up uh no, I'm not gonna pull up Reddit. I'm just okay. I'm just gonna tell you the story really quick. My mother, it was 1960. I think she said it was 64 or 63. And she had her older brother had just bought a accounting machine, one of a very early computer from IBM, and I don't know the exact model number. She does. She's a crazy computer herself. Like she remembers all the model numbers from everything she bought. But the thing is that they had a farm property next door, and the farmers came by to look at the new fancy thing that the neighbors bought. And my uncle Paul went through a big explainer. He explained the story. He explained what the machine did, how it worked, what it did, the fact that you had to stand on the rubber mat, otherwise you would get shocked. Like there's all sorts of rules about like using the machine and what it can do and all sorts of stuff. About 20 minutes later, you know, they've shown the innards of the computer. They've shown all the parts to it and stuff. The farmers interrupt Paul and they go, okay, but where's the little man that runs it? That and the response my mother had, which again, you guys are gonna have to picture the blonde woman in my comics, Sage. You guys are gonna have to picture her for a minute. Um, just giggling uncontrollably and then being crazy embarrassed about the fact that she's laughing at the ignorance of people, frankly. And my mother was so embarrassed by that she ran to the other room to basically have a giggle fit. And just because these old Dutch farmers were like, where's the little man that runs it? Like it was just so goofy. It was one of those things where like I don't know if it's mean. It's one of those stories that I don't know if it's actually mean. It's just funny to me. But yeah. It is certainly true that at the time when these computers were, you were big enough to jump in them. You know what I mean? Like you could stand inside of it and like, move some tape decks around and stuff like that. The big floppies and stuff like that. I remember having an Apple II, and we had the big floppies that we would shove in, and there was one game that had the joystick controls, and I was so excited to play that. But then I remember back now, and I'm like, oh, that was like the little calibration, the little calibration game for the joystick. It wasn't even a real game. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Sweet. Let's see here. Questions. All right. Felix said, I believe that the use of noise to make music will continue and increase until we reach a music produced through the use of electronic instruments, which will be available for musical purposes. Any and all sound can be heard. Photoelectronic, film, mechanical mediums for the synthetic production of music will be explored. John Cage, the future of music, Credo, 1937. Ooh, that's something fun for me to dig into later. Fungi Mancer. You never thought about it and like that, but the way the analogy with noise sound modulation seems relevant. Yeah, that's what I thought. And yeah, and there you go. I really do think that in terms of the the kind of stuff that we'll be able to make with AI will be so completely different, so diverse and interesting, that it you can't call it charcoal, you can't call it paint, you can't call it the words that we're using it right now. And I literally can't think of anything else to call it other than a new medium, because of that. It mimics other mediums very easily. Don't get me wrong, it can certainly pretend to be another medium, but it's only pretending. Once it's its own medium, then it's a different story. We've reached a whole new kit caboodle about this, about like a whole new bag this that we have to open up with that, and we're very very close to that right now. It's a very exciting time to be involved with AI stuff. Mojam said, by the way, Victor got inspired by last week's session using music lyrics, ended up generating Suno AI music, and from the lyrics just experimented. I got so many comic panels now. I'm trying to shortlist into something meaningful. It was a darn fun session. That is awesome. Yeah, I got the idea because I saw someone prompting their poetry, like like their like complete prompts, like they're complete poets, and just line by line prompting them and trying to basically they kept re-rolling the prompt until they were happy with that one, and then they kept the story going from there, and that was months and months ago. We've done little music jams like that before, but that one was a lot of fun. It was mostly because Banana Man Banana Man makes everything fun. um, but I'm particularly curious about the kind of other songs that we can explore. um, I'll make sure the next song doesn't irritate Kinky nearly as much as my bonus song did. Um, I could see Trent Reznor maybe being into a character for charity. Yeah, I mean, like, look, the actual celebrities, like celebrity names, are far more likely to be okay with using their face because they know that. What?
Irritated.
Sorry. What? Sorry.
Got to know that I wasn't really irritated.
Well, it is a song that's purposely designed to be annoying. It's Star Trekking.
That's why I said it. It was funny. I actually kind of enjoyed myself listening to it.
Oh,
It was a little
oh.
bit of a bop.
Well, I won't bring it back though. I promise that at least. It is one of that's
That's the
fair.
one thing.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's something that I really enjoyed but wouldn't do again.
Oh, there's a couple Aronofsky movies I can describe like that too.
Mhm.
Um, okay, let's see here. The I remember that session. I had some cursed things. Yeah, oh yeah, you'll get plenty of cursed things off of Banana Man. But in terms of like a celebrity likeness, I think that they're far more likely to say yes, just because it is interesting. But if you, I'm more talking about like cartoon characters, like particularly web comics and other like digital art people. They'll probably only say yes if it was destined to make them look good. Like, oh wow, yeah, I don't like I thanks to collab I did or whatever, I donated X amount of dollars to this charity. That sounds good. That's fine. Or the charity I would pick probably for them would be children's art supplies. I do think that probably the kind of like the big hidden negative about generative imagery is the hit that it's going to take to middle school and elementary art classes. Um, I can't even imagine how like one of the things that got me so excited about drawing things for my friends when I was growing up was simply showing it to them and being like, "Look, it's you. right? I drew you in there. And, if you got good at it, they would like see themselves. They would see that representation and go like, "Ooh, yeah, that is me. That's so cool." Or whatever. There there is an unfortunate reality that we have to live with, which is that if you expose kids to generative imagery way too young, right? They are going to not appreciate art. They're just simply not. Like it is not proven. There's no like studies that say this or whatever, but just logically think this out. Like I my kid, like if I was that age right now, I would be drawing still, but I wouldn't get the satisfaction of showing it to my friends because they would go like, "Look what I could do too." It just types something up. I don't get offended by that now because I'm an adult. I understand that there's like, that there's value to what I do. But for a little kid, like that's gotta hurt. You know what I mean? And that's why like I'm particularly aware that the number one thing that's probably gonna get cut from school programs, if it's not already under threat, which has been true for decades in the United States, is art classes. Like shop class and art class. Like shop class is gone in most of high schools. Like it's super unfortunate. I hate that. And I don't want to see art classes in the same boat because of quote unquote they're not relevant anymore. Oh, we like the understand like Home Depot is what killed shop class. Okay, like the fact that we had such easy access to the tools, equipment, all that stuff. There wasn't a need to have a workshop anymore. You could just go to Home Depot and get it done. Like whatever. The point is that corporatism is what killed Home Depot. Corporatism is what's going to kill art. It's one of those things that I'm legitimately afraid of, and I want to prevent it. And the only way that we can is by proactively encouraging art, like proactively encouraging people to draw and do things like physically again. And yeah, it's just super important for me to be like, okay, I recognize that I am the AI guy amongst a bunch of webcomic and artists and other things like that. I'm known as the AI guy, but you'll never see me say that this is something better than art that's drawn by a person. I'm sorry. I love what we do. I really do. It is just something that I'm very passionate about because I don't really think about the art. I honestly, the artist doesn't really matter either. It's just a matter of what the purpose is. It's the expression that's there. And you guys are making art after you generate the first thing you make. As soon as you start making corrections and changes to the thing that you're making, you've evolved in a transformative act to something that is far more human because you've transformed it in some way. Yeah, let's see here. I'm gonna answer a couple questions here and get off that kind of depressing tangent. Let's see here. Um, Tre- Trek Radio said they said the same thing about music, and my kid is loving all the same bands I listened to in the '80s and '90s. Right, right, right. I already know some friends at MJ and do that. Yeah. I had a note that Victor mentioned might try stop motion stuff. That's right. That's right. We're gonna try that next time. I think we're gonna try stop motion next time. Interesting because I got an 11-year-old boy who's much into drawing comics. Awesome, Mojam. I just heavily encourage you to make sure that they know the value of what they're doing. Uh, the I just really want to focus on making sure that like whenever it comes to showing like especially the stuff that you generate like that uses their art like if your kid draws something and be like look I put this in the computer and it gave me this you really got to emphasize at least in my opinion you really got to emphasize that the value of the art that they're making right has a um has an inherent value it is valuable because they did it because they made it real it's not valuable because it's good looking. Who cares? Like frankly, now really who cares? If we can make really gorgeous looking stuff with AI, who cares how good the quality is anymore? I think what you guys are gonna see is as much as the AI stuff starts to take over and we start to see a prolificness of AI imagery beyond what it currently is, which it already is a good amount. I think that we're at a point where people are going to want the opposite. You're going to see people want minimalism. You're going to see people want extreme whatever that AI is just not good at doing. These are medians. These are averages of imagery that we're looking at right now. And we're just not at that point where those averages are interesting to such an extent that we want to call it human intent. It's just not there. Instead, the value is about the human intent. It's about the effort being put onto the paper. And what I love about all the AI imagery that we get out of this stuff, and really what brings us all back to this stuff, is the fact that I can tell a generated image that is derived off of someone's hand drawn art only because I've been doing this for as long as I've been doing it now. Like I don't know if this is accurate. I'm sure AC could correct me here, but I feel like the people who know what's not generated from my comics the most are probably the Midjourney staff out of everybody else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, like it's jarring. It's shocking to kind of be like, okay, yeah, like I'm sorry that you're having trouble like telling exactly what is and what isn't generated. I'll do my best to explain it. But when I go to explain things, it gets kind of overwhelming and whatnot. The key thing to keep in mind is that like when being able to see what's real and what isn't, or what is generated and what isn't generated, what's authentic, what isn't, that kind of thing, that will never really be possible moving forward. As in like, okay, yeah, I know that this is for sure, this was done with whatever, but what it will be a uniqueness or a derivative. Like what's derivative, right? It's that knowing that, oh, this was clearly based off of Simpsons, oh, this was clearly based off of whatever property. When you don't see that derivativeness, it's a big hint that there's something unique about it, that something was maybe drawn to generate to do an image prompting off of that. So yeah. Sorry that again. That's another long rant into a depressing topic and then back into a rant. I'm really good at that, I guess. Let's see here. What else do we got? He did. Unfortunately, there were screen sharing issues today. So yeah, we definitely had some technical issues today. I apologize about that. Yeah, really good at that. Yeah, doubling back on the yeah. Let's see here. Fungal Mancer. Sorry, I keep saying. Wait, is do you have two different versions of your name? Because I've called you Fungi Mancer and Fungal Mancer. I feel like there's two of them going on here. But all right, if we go back to the music analogy, after electronic music came, I'm sure many would think that kids would not appreciate real instruments if you can make the sounds by pushing a button. But here we are, loving many types of music. Might be wrong for sure. Like, look, Fungi Mancer. I mean, that's really where your argument, like, that's where it works. Like, that's where you go. Okay, yeah, that's pretty hard to debate that. Like when it comes to the like especially musical instruments, it's like you're still playing with a guitar, right? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's electronic guitar, yeah, there's an acoustic guitar, but the electronic guitars existed way before Moog synthesizers. Like, come on, like we're fine. What it did is it and this is really the point that I didn't dabble on too much on, was the fact that it birthed EDM, it birthed electronic music, it birthed techno. Like, it's about new mediums. It's not about replacement. It's about amplifying and creating new things. So, yeah. Felix Rex said yes, but it took a long time for people to realize electronic instruments were best suited for creating new sounds that real instruments couldn't create, rather than trying to create traditional instruments. Right. I mean, and I'm not like a music guy. I really don't know too much about like the innards of what is best suited for what. But I will say this though, that when we try to replicate, like when we try to mimic something, you usually get a worse version of it, right? Like, my grandfather did like recreation paintings for of the Mona Lisa. He did those for the latter half of his entire life. I could guarantee you that every one of the ones he made had some element of flaw compared to what the original is. I can guarantee you that the Mona Lisa that's currently hanging on the wall has some flaws in it that is, at least in the mind of the artist, is definitely there. Like, it's just, humanity is about flaws. It's about errors. It's about unique derivative. It's about unique originality in that sense. And I just cannot I cannot overlook the idea that that at least for human expression, yeah, if you make a little noise modulation, you get a tone like whatever. But if you now change that, now you have a little tone. You have something that you can play with. Like a little more than a tone, you have a beat or like a sample, right? And you just change that thing that no one can own, a tone, into something that is something you can own, into something that is original and unique. So I'm just saying, it just takes a little bit of effort, and suddenly it's justified. I would even argue that if you signed a generated image, that's transformative. And I know that that's gonna like that would be the jackass argument to make, but it is still technically legitimate. I just think it's a jackass argument to make. Let's see here. Old Dirty said, I want to be able to use MIDI controller to morph images in real time, less prompting and more modulation. I do think that exists. I do think someone's doing that. I know dream modulation is a thing. Where essentially like you train like a CT like scanner, like a brainwave scanner, and you train it on recognizing like words and phrases that you know, right? So like if you see a cat while you're dreaming, it knows, oh, this guy, he just saw a cat. The word cat popped up in his brain somewhere. Whatever. And it's going to give you a list of prompts, like basically a list of words, and it recreates the imagery using AI to essentially try to envision what your dreams are. And I saw it from the social network guys, the guys that did the social problem. Very interesting potentials out of that. But you're not actually seeing your dreams. You're seeing a digital assumption of your dreams. A guess, a best guess. Let's just put it like that. Let's see if we got anything else. Okay, yeah, that's it for the questions for now. If you guys got anything else, feel free to type in VC text, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. We got about 12 minutes left of the show here, and then we'll do all sorts of stuff probably back on my Discord if you wanted to join, and then I'm gonna do a little shout out for the prompt battles after that. But if you don't mind, Kinky, if you don't mind linking the Discord, I will do one little shout out here for getting everybody we can involved in Phantasma and just in general, guys. It's not limited to just Phantasma. I know I talked about that a lot in the stream, mostly because my video feed is a little broken today, so I can't like dynamically show you things as easily as I would before. But it is something that I'm very excited about. I think that there's a lot of potential for us to not just tell this one fantasy story. Thank you, really appreciate that. In VC Text, you can see a link to join it. The key thing is that inside of here we have the Chaos Portal for you to submit your characters, as well as to continue the stories of your characters. So, like for example, there's one that I didn't show you here, which is Akari. And Akari from I Troll For You has an amazing like intro comic. I was so surprised by the quality of what they were able to put together here. And this is without the text. I'm just showing this really quickly without the text that they put together. But this really shows you the power of the Phantasma style reference. So we have their style, like the one that they had, that they've been messing with. It's a mixture of anime and realism. It's really interesting. And the character walks in through the portal, and then as soon as they enter the portal, they're inside of Phantasma because he started off with this image and then expanded out of it. But look at that. The character has now been recontextualized to fit within the style of it. And it's just so cool. It's just so neat to see. And you guys can check out the other comics that people have been building with us here, right here. And that's all inside of the Chaos Portal. And then whatever gets officially adopted will be inside of the Story Nexus. So either the materials you need to tell official story stuff or what we're officially adopting will be inside of here. So there's a lot of neat things to dig in here. I hope to see you guys there, and you can just join. Otherwise, is there anything from anything else outside of like troubleshooting okay, what are you guys talking about here? I'm having issues with vary by region tool. Where's a good place to find help? Okay. And then Nicole actually links something pretty helpful. Awesome. Thank you. Sweet. Yeah, and prompt chat Kinky is definitely right about go, let's see here. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna stop reading off the chat aimlessly. You want to talk about prompt battles?
Sure. So the next two events that are happening here on Midjourney are prompt battles. They happen on Saturday and Sunday, and we do this for 16 hours throughout the weekend. So it's kind of hard to miss it if you want to make it. You don't have to stay all day. You don't even have to stay for more than one. It's just super fun, and we make images at the behest of other people. They give you an idea, and we all prompt the same thing for about 10 minutes until we all come up with our very different ideas that we've made our own. And then we bring the best one that we made to the event. And after 10 minutes, we all vote on them. And then whoever wins gets a free fast hour, and they get to choose the next thing for us to prompt. It's really fun. And there are also participation hours if you're there for a while. So yeah, I think you guys should come along. I'm gonna go ahead and link those the events in the chat for you guys, and I hope you come. And also, we're doing prompt craft for beginners tomorrow morning. So if you have, if you're new to Midjourney and you want to learn how to do your first couple of prompts, I'd love to see you there too.
Yeah, it's a great place to really see what people are able to do with Midjourney. It's one thing to see me ramble on about the one thing I'm really getting into. Usually one thing. But it's just watching is okay too. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely come and just check out what people are doing, because just watching it, you learn. You see all the diversity of how people are trying to accomplish things. And yeah, I highly recommend going to prompt crafting. It's super, super fun. The prompt battles especially. But
Thanks
all
so
right.
much.
No problem, no problem. The last thing I'll mention is that if you do come on to my Discord, I'll be hanging out there if you guys want to chat with me. I'll be doing a little after party show. Rhapsody will not be at this one. She is out with I believe family today, so we will see her next week. And as for future events and things, outside of my anniversary coming up on the 19th, it's just going to be more prompt and more making things with you guys. So I'm so excited to be able to keep doing that and see and just make cool things with you. Any last minute things, you're welcome to I'll probably see it inside of VC Text. But again, thank you guys so much for dealing with the technical issues we had today, and just hanging out and keeping it interesting here. I definitely appreciate that, because I can usually distract myself pretty good on generated imagery, but whenever there's a technical issue, I start to panic a little bit. I go like, I don't know what to do. And so like this has been super fun to do this with you guys and really see you guys take over, because the Phantasma stuff that you guys did in here inside of VC Text is awesome. I love that. Um, let's see here. Trek Radio said, "I learned something new each time I'm here. Thank you, everyone." Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
It's
I
awesome.
I, I feel validated.
And while Victor was here, while Victor was drinking water, I was trying to tell you about the big pile of links that I left in the chat, and I just did another one. The first one is the server, just in case you missed all the other times I linked it. Second time is his YouTube channel, his Twitch channel, his website, and then there's an interview with Bay Rate, who is an amazing artist who you absolutely know. You'll figure that out from watching it. Um, but those are his links, and you should definitely go to them and have fun at the after party. Even though Rhapsody's not there, you're gonna have to party on, Wayne. Um, thanks for coming this week, Victor. I
No,
hope
no
you have a
problem.
great anniversary.
Oh yeah, and you guys have a great, wonderful night. Thank you so much to Kinky and AC for hosting today. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.